All right, first thing I'm gonna do is take this broom right here and I'm gonna go around and scrub this deck, rinse it, and then I'm gonna do a little test spot on these seats to see if I'm gonna be able to clean them up or if they're eventually gonna need to go out for a reupholster. So I'll put it on in a time lapse, see how it cleans up. Hey, so welcome to the new Salty Rod fishing boat. This is a project boat that we picked up in Florida, had it imported to Puerto Rico. It's a 1999 Angler 252. It's got twin 225 horsepower engines on it. And what the previous owner had stated was wrong with it was that it needed a fuel tank. It has two, one in the front and one in the back. And that it hadn't been running over a year and so would need some major service done to it. So what we're going to do is chronicle this project and show you all the work that it takes to get it seaworthy. And the reason we picked this boat up and upgraded from the Maycraft was that we have plans of doing some charter fishing. And so this is the next step in that. And also we look forward to making more salty rod fishing videos. With this larger boat, we will be able to go out into some of those rougher seas, have more of a range, and also be able to run a bigger spread when we're doing trolling and whatnot. So in this video, we're going to be jumping around a lot. That's the nature of projects. Sometimes you can either get distracted or you start on something and it takes you down a wormhole. So be prepared for that. But hope you enjoy the video, and if you're interested in these types of videos, please subscribe, and we will bring you many more in the near future. So there's going to be lots of jumping around in this video. I wasn't really recording right there, but what happened was as we're rinsing the boat off, all the water was puddling back here, and it's because the scuppers were plugged. And so I came in here and I removed both batteries, cleaned out in here where both the scuppers are. They have wires running through them too. That's not ideal. I might end up putting some larger ones in, but I did find a nice Minn Kota battery charger in there. This boat was parked under some trees, and so this is what basically that's what came out of that area. There's screws, dirt, leaves. So I wanted to clean that 100% to make sure that when I'm operating this boat, there's never a plug scupper. But like I said, be jumping around from one thing to the next, and that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, when you're working on something like this, one thing leads you to another, leads you to another. So that's all cleaned up. Put the batteries back in. We'll get the batteries charged up, and I'll give you an update on the next little task. All right, so we're progressing. One of the things that I found out was I knew that this thing had a fuel leak. And so now what I'm doing is I'm removing this hatch, which gives me access to the forward fuel tank. But if you look at the way they built this, there's some more screws, parts of that hatch in here, and in there is that lip, and you can see that line, and that separates it. So the console is bolted to that lip. You can see the lips here, and then we have through hole screws there. So I'm gonna have to lift this console up a couple inches. So I pulled this trim piece off around the border, and Tegan's now pressure washing it so it's clean. And then I'll pull all the screws out around the console, and I'll release the T-top here, and we're gonna block it. We're probably gonna pull this back hatch also, and so we'll lift the whole T-top up about 4 inches, block it up, and then pull these hatches, inspect all the hose connections, inspect all the fuel sending unit gaskets, maybe change the hoses and the fill and the vent hoses, and the supply hoses to the engines. That way all of that stuff's taken care of while we have the hatch off. So stick around and we'll get those off. All right, I'm having it scrape, get all the silicone. We got all the screws out of the console, got the screws out of the T-top. Now I'm just coming along here and scraping out the silicone that is the last thing that's really holding this center console to, you can see that there, and then I stick this in here and kind of pry away, and it lets me work out the silicone and free it up from the floor. We try to lift this console up just by cutting a line in the silicone, and it was not having it, so I'm gonna have to get in here and be a little bit more thorough to break that bond. So we'll show you next step when we try to lift it up. All right, so we got this all cleaned up, broke the console loose. Now we're gonna lift it up, lock it up so we can get this. So Tegan, you're gonna put the blocks in, but I don't want them covering this, just in the corners, okay? Ready? Ready?
Oh.
Quickly. Okay,
No,
it's put it over that corner.
Yeah, he's on top.
With,
Yep.
there you go. There you go. Is it good and solid?
Yeah.
We're gonna fall on us? Perfect.
Put your fingers in there.
Alright.
Your big toe.
So I might have to cut that. Let's see if it will pry out. Because the whole front of it's all loose. I think they started to pry out the silicone and then they saw it happen.
Yeah.
And they told the guy that it needed a tank and they never took it out.
Yep.
That's what I gathered by what it looked like.
They're like, oh, you gotta lift this all up and take all this apart. Yeah, here.
Yeah, that's like all silicone in.
Pull it out.
Going through, I think I got it pretty much freed up. All the silicone that they used to make sure no water got in there. So we'll try to pry it up again. Ya, está bien. Gracias. All right, we're free.
Hey, can I reset the factory settings?
Yeah.
Good. Not funny.
You want to hold this, Mike?
Gotcha.
Hold this and I'll go in there and feed it out.
Okay.
Hey, how about you hold that and then hand me the pick so I can lift this up.
Yeah.
Hold on, don't move it. I gotta get the other side up. Alright. Problem is it's a trapezoid, and so let's lift it there. Right there.
Keep on going.
Talk about bilge mildew. So it's really dirty. So the next step is going to be, I will cap the fill, cap the vent. Actually, I'll cap the fill, I'll cap the two feeds for the motors, and then I'll do a low pressure test here and see if this tank holds pressure. And hopefully it's leaking right here, or maybe one of these hoses are bad. We'll inspect those too. Cut. All right, so we got this cover off. This fuel tank doesn't look corroded, which normally aluminum has a white oxidation on it, so that's kind of good. Probably still going to clean that all up, pressure test it, change the hoses, and then now we're going after this rear tank. And in here it's really black and dirty, it smells gassy, so pulling the leaning post off right now, and then we're going to pull this hatch cover. Just so you guys know, we're still on day one on this boat. It's like maybe 12 o'clock. All right, so we'll get all these screws out and we'll let you know what we find. All right, just getting the last few screws. We reposition the center console, put it down in the front where we lifted it up. Took the battery out of the center console, and now I'm just getting the last few screws on this tank cover. Whew, she smells like gas bad back here. A few more screws. Grab that bag, put these screws in.
An empty one or this one?
No, there's one that's on top there that had, oh sorry, it's right here. Put the screws in that one. Another screw somewhere in here, under the grind. Right there. See how, yeah, she's glued in pretty good, so.
This battery's slippery though.
It's better. Yeah, this is definitely the one that has the leak. Yeah.
You can smell it.
Yeah. Well, it could be one of these hoses is leaking too, though, from that front cage.
Sucks how that thing was leaking because now we don't know if the drops are from the hoses or.
It's all that up there. Just is that a silicone thing?
Yeah, it's just like a silicone.
Okay. Not really seeing a ton of corrosion though, which is good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what's that? Just spiders? Yeah, it's just spiders.
All right, so we got this off. The cover's off. Exposed the tank. I took those two hoses off. I'm really suspect of this one on the right here because they changed the barb on there and it's really small, and I think that it was too small for the size of hose, and so I think it was leaking there. Anyways, I had a piece of hose. I went ahead and made a bypass so I wouldn't have to plug those two. And now what I'm doing is getting off. This is our vent hose, this is our fill hose. I'm gonna cap when I take the fill hose off, I'm gonna use one of these plugs here and I'll cap it, and then I'm gonna use my little pressure pump here. I gotta, you know, size it up and adapt it, and then this will let me pump air in to the tank, and then that needle will hold, and you can see it's leaking down a little bit there. Now it stopped because I pushed harder to seal it, and then if you let off it completely goes to 0. So I'm going to pump up this tank probably to like 20 psi, 15-20 psi, and then watch that gauge and see if it bleeds down. So all right, well, we're pretty much done for today. I'm getting kind of tired, and we found our fuel leak problem. It was from this barb here, and then the other thing is this hose, which should be 3/8, appears to be 5/8. So I believe that all the fuel supply line is the wrong size for what the barbs are. So I'm gonna go buy a roll of 3/8 fuel line and replace all the fuel lines, because we have it apart and that's the right thing to do. And then we will clean all this up, clean all the silicone out, reseal these hatches, put it all back together, and then move on to the motors. So thanks for watching today's video, and we will follow this up with progress moving forward. So stay tuned, subscribe if you like, give me a thumbs up on the video. Any comments you have about what we did today, leave them down in the comment section. Thanks, bye.